How's it going, guys? And welcome to your Smackdown review. And man, you want to talk about a show that had nothing to offer all the way up until the very end of it. And you could basically skip this whole show and watch the last 10 minutes, and that's good enough. You've basically seen almost anything important storyline wise that this show has to offer, because everything else was completely meaningless. There was like nothing good on here aside from that. We started off a recap from last week. Heyman is shown waiting outside for Roman Reigns to arrive, and we're getting a matchup first. Toni Storm and Sasha Banks, and they defeat Charlotte and Shotzi. And we haven't seen Shotzi in like 2-3 weeks. They totally forgot about her. I said, wasn't it like last week? I said, what did they probably forget about her? Well, they remembered her this week. And then we get a 20-minute match, which is just fucking outrageous. Like, do you think that's like long enough? And it's quite obvious they have like nothing to offer. It's so dragged out. It's so boring. There's like no rhyme or reason to anything that they're doing. To me, like these matches, they just go from spot to spot. You can look at the main event, which was the Usos and New Day. And as much as I badmouth the New Day, they're competent in the ring. They work like a tag match that's normal style, where they beat down on one opponent, and that leads to the tag. And here it's just like whatever the hell they want to do, and it's really like boring to watch. It just feels very mindless and dragged out. I've said this time and time again. People always have a problem when I talk about the length of matches for some reason. Not everybody, but some people who enjoy like long format AEW style matches. And, I absolutely love when people come on my AEW videos all the time and say, oh, Brad, you hate this WWE stuff and you don't give AEW a chance. It's like, these people, like, I have a whole channel here where I've reviewed multiple AEW shows, and my complaints are always the same. Long, boring matches that are very spotty in a number of different ways. Spotty meaning like tons of high spots, and spotty meaning very sloppy. And I wouldn't really call this match sloppy, the women's one, but it's not exactly the cleanest, crispest looking thing. It's just, I don't enjoy women's wrestling today. If you watch my Ruthless Aggression video, whatever it was back in the day, those girls had it. These girls today, like, I'm a fan of Charlotte, but man, I just, when I see these matches, I just turn my brain off, and I cannot get into them at all. And it's been many years into this of give the divas a chance and the women's revolution and all that. And I know, we're like not supposed to say this. It's because it's supposed to be sexist. But man, like, I gotta be perfectly honest. The women's wrestling, it just sucks. It does. There's nothing stimulating about it. There's no interesting storylines. Why is it that there's not even, the only storyline we get is a girl got hit in the face with a pie. So Toni Storm ends up getting a pin on Charlotte. And, okay, so, fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, I totally lost interest in Toni Storm and Charlotte, well, before it even began, really. But, once she took 2 pies to the face and Charlotte's taking a pie, I mean, you might as well make this into a pie fight. I mean, at least that would have been interesting. At least I could have came on here and talked about something different than dragged out long matches, But I mean, maybe that would have been worse. We go backstage and we see we see New Day and King Woods, King Xavier, whatever they're calling him this week, and everyone's going. They're all chanting for him like a bunch of idiots. We've got Drew Gulak back there, the Viking Raiders. You know, they're supposed to be Vikings, but they're chanting like a bunch of cheerleaders. And we've got Boogs and Nakamurphy, the Intercontinental Champion, who's above the King of the Ring as far as I'm concerned. He's like worshiping this guy, and like he was just the king. It's just so weird. It's so cartoonish. It's so stupid. And it's like, how could anyone even remotely say they enjoy this? And then we got Boogs, you know, so we're getting Boogs over. You know, he's playing the guitar, Nakamurphy. It's the most I've been interested in anything Nakamurphy in quite some time. And it's because of the presentation with Boogs. But they're not, you know, they're not going to have a match or a segment of their own. We're just going to shoehorn them in there as the random backstage people. They're almost as valuable here as Vince McMahon coming out of the limo with the egg at Survivor Series. And we've got Boogs kissing the ring of Xavier Woods. He's not even wearing a ring, but, you know, it's supposed to be like he's kissing it. You know the saying, kiss the ring. It's like a grown man is kissing, and he's got this goofy-ass crown on, this really frilly-looking throne. And then the Usos come and they make fun of his crown, and rightfully so. It's like, you know, I shouldn't be agreeing with the heels. You know, the baby face shouldn't be this goofy and nerdy and doofy. You know, oh, I'm a king. I'm living my dream. You know, that's why it was so enjoyable seeing all his shit get fucked up a few weeks back, crushing the crown and everything like that, and, you know, wiping their nose on the cape. Like, you know, that because this stuff is stupid. And they made fun of this. WWE made fun of themselves back in 2000. I've used this on a number of occasions when we talked about this over the past couple of weeks. Kurt Angle. Remember his character? He was supposed to be nerdy. That was the whole thing. And he's the heel. So, you know, he's the nerd. So you're supposed to, you know, boo him. Because he was also like a mean nerd, you know, and a rude nerd. And he, when he won King of the Ring 2000, he wanted to wear the crown. And the crown was really stupid back then, even dumber looking than that. But it was his character, because you were supposed to boo him. So they put the stupid looking crown on him because he's supposed to be out of touch heel and everything. You know, he was, that's what made it over. As far as I'm concerned, this is not over. And I get it. They sell merchandise, but I mean, how long can you keep this gig going, this gimmick, like for years and years, and it just gets dumber and dumber? You know, I get it to sell merchandise, but like, are the merchandise numbers really that high? I guess so. I mean, but doesn't like Xavier at this point, isn't he tired of looking like a complete fucking moron? But, you know, apparently, like, you know, his YouTube channel, he's always acting like a moron. So this is kind of who he is. He's a dumbass. I'm sorry to say, but the guy acts like a complete fool. And we should know this from the whole Page incident. Obviously, the guy has no common sense. He, you know, that's just how he runs his life, like a complete idiot. So, you know, they're like, all right, well, you want to act like an idiot, and he gleefully doesn't. And I guess that's it. He's a yes man. He sells merchandise. Good enough. So, you know, like I said, if they make money off of it, I can't really badmouth it too much. But I sure as hell can say that this shit sucks. Why can't they make money off of something good, right? Remember when they used to make money off of actually good comedy? Like Mick Foley and Al Snow and stuff like that, you know. But now we have to have horrible comedy. I think you'd sell even more merchandise if you actually did quality stuff instead of the most bottom of the barrel goofiest shit. But, you know, whatever, you know. The Viking Raiders come out, and I love when they're coming out. They're trying to get this thing over with the raid, and like no one's feeling it, so they find the one guy in the crowd, like again, like one of the doofiest looking guys, and he's just like lightly tapping his chest like this. He does like one raid, and I don't think he even like said it or even mouthed it, and they get him on camera, and he like stops like right away. Like they wanted to like get someone in there who was actually doing it. You know, I don't think 2021 into 2022 people are gonna be into this raid thing, pounding their chests. Just me, you know. But anyway, they come out and we don't really get to see them for a while because we get to see Natalya, who is looking great, by the way. She don't have much to say. She just says that they replay the segment with Xia Li, who's not on the show this week. We're seeing her, but she did her big debut last week, but she's nowhere to be found. But she just says she better not do what she did last week or she's going to get it. Or like, okay, really threatening words. That's some tough talk there. Like, what was even the point of that promo if it was just going to be that lazily thrown together? God forbid if that was like scripted like that. You know, if that was something she did from the hip, like, okay, it was just like a little filler promo. But how can you have Xia Li, like, after weeks and weeks of build for her, all these vignettes, obviously quite expensive vignettes with great animation in them, and put them together with narration and everything, that couldn't have been easy to do, just like the Aleister Black stuff. And then she's just not there this week. Like, yeah, we'll take care of it next week. I mean, why? Like, what happened? Like, to me, that's just beyond like lazy. We can't figure out what to do with her this week. Like, how about instead of having a 20-minute goofball match in the beginning, we at least have like one of these new characters that actually seems kind of interesting. She had a cool entrance and everything, and I mean, I don't know. You know, maybe there's enough women's stuff on there, but I just thought it would have been nicer to break it up with something a little different in there. Then we do the Raw Rebound with Bobby Lashley, with like one of the most confusing like finishes with Seth Rollins, which was like the previous week. Like, what were they doing there? Disqualification on purpose? Like, just really like perverting the disqualification finish, like using it on purpose for like, you know, just to further a match. And then there's another match. And like, this is what they're doing on Raw. If you're ever curious, like, why you don't get Raw reviews, it's because we tried to go back to them. You only get in one show, this one wrestling show. I've said this on a number of occasions. And you know, it's a miracle that I've even gotten this far without having to take a break. But, you know, so far I enjoy doing them. So I like doing the reviews a lot more sometimes than actually watching the show, to be quite honest. But then, yeah, we see Jinder coming out with Shanky, and then we go to a commercial. So all this time, we've just had the Viking Raiders, you know, in the ring, raiding, pounding their chest, like, okay. And Jinder Mahal pops up out of nowhere. I don't think we've seen him since he cut that rap, burying Hit Row, remember Cringe Row? And now all of them are gone. So we come back and we have the match, and it's Jinder and Shanky against the Viking Raiders, and Jinder and Shanky lose. Okay, like, you know, what about the simple fact that Jinder Mahal was a WWE champion and Shanky is a monster, and they're like, okay, I get it. You want to give the Viking Raiders something to do. They're saying this is an important match. They're not really saying it's a number one contenders match or anything like that, but, you know, like, you don't even know. Now they have a championship contenders match. They have a number one contenders match still exists, as we'll get to later in the show. So I don't know how anyone contends for a title, really, like what the official rules are. They have convoluted that so much. Like, it's an important match, okay, where it's really not that important, but like, How can you waste a big monster like Shank? This guy's huge with a massive wingspan. His arms are enormous. He looks like Dowsing with stretching arms like this. I'll give credit where credit's due. That's Bin Hamin's joke, not mine. But come on, you don't see it. And Mahal, I'm just saying, a guy in such great shape with that much charisma. We saw him cut the promo. We saw him. They gave him shit to work with, and he upstaged Hit Row. He upstaged them at their own game. They were cutting all these horrible raps and everything. It's no surprise. Like, that was their material from what I've heard. And if that was the best they can do, then, like, I don't know why you'd keep them around. They weren't doing their gimmick very well. And Mahal comes around. He cuts this, like, not really a good rap, but it was funny. So, like, I don't know. This guy has proven time and time again, if you give him the ball, he'll run with it, but you can't blame him because you're giving him such horrible stuff to work with. You're like, why does he need to be in a tag team? I just don't really understand that. It's one. How are you the WWE champion and now you're in a tag team? Unless you're going to be in a super team, like I've said on a number of occasions, The Rock and Mankind, Stone Cold and Triple H, the Brothers of Destruction, unless you're going to be a team like that, you don't go back into a tag team. I'm sorry. Then we cut backstage. We've got Madcap Moss and Corbin moving a desk, and Michael Cole, with this really cringy line, calls him a cold-blooded cut-up. Like, the alliteration right there, like, okay, nice alliteration, but, like, for the WWE to explain a heel, all right? So we come back, and Heyman is still waiting for Roman. We see an Escalade pulls up, and Brock gets out of it instead. This shocks Heyman. He wasn't expecting him, so now we know that there's going to be Brock and Reigns there tonight. Then it's time for Happy Talk, and they come out, and I'm like, where's the desk? They were just pushing a desk. And apparently the desk was put in the ring during the commercial break, and I love how Cole's like, oh, well, there's the desk right there. Okay, so that's what you've been doing. You had these poor ring crew guys put a fucking desk. Also, like, those are not chairs that you normally see in, like, one of these talk show segments. Those are, like, legit, like, furniture, like, stuff that's in your house. Like, those are actual, like, luxury chairs they're putting in the ring. All that stuff is heavy. They're putting it all in the ring, and for what? This segment right here, what a fucking bomb. And mind you, this was in Chicago. So, of course, those complete dumbasses in the crowd, it's a boring segment. We all know this is a gimmick that's not working. We had just pure genius. They finally hit the nail right on the head for Corbin with the broke-ass Baron Corbin gimmick. Finally, no stupid King gimmick, nothing like that to hold him back. He was given some creative freedom with it. He was, being experimentative with it, and it was really good stuff. And they somewhere along the line says, oh, you know what? Let's give him all his money back plus more, and let's just make him this obnoxious heel, but obnoxious and old for all the wrong reasons. Not like, don't do something interesting like with Seth Rollins, where there's a guy where the gimmick basically changed my whole perception on the man. Here, like, things have gone south. You usually want to improve on a character, not decrease. And you barely even gave the broke ass Baron Corbin, like, what did it even crack 2 months, that gimmick? Anyway, and a lot of this stuff was on Instagram. They didn't even really do it justice in the end. It was only starting to get out of the gate before they reached in and like just fast-tracked it to the finish line. And that was one storyline where I've said on a number of occasions, you've had numerous people say, oh, fans don't have patience. And I say, well, no, it's because the storylines are bad in the first place. But this was one storyline that was actually pretty good. And it did deserve more time. And I would have been patient with it because, we were actually getting something of substance. But instead we get the most terrible thing possible. And, we've got the sword sticking out of there. And we've got Moss trying to pull it out with all his might. He's trying to fake that he can't pull it out. And he's cutting like this had to be like the worst collection. They're not even like cheesy jokes. Whoever's writing these jokes, they're not even trying to like make them like somewhat funny. Like they're just making sure these jokes like almost don't even fucking make any sense. And it's bombing hard, and like, we even have the commentators making fun of it. And the crowd is chanting, CM Punk, CM Punk. Of course, like, first of all, like, why are you even going to a show? If you're there for CM Punk, when he's on AEW now, I mean, honestly, the biggest bunch of idiots, I don't care, whatever. The Chicago fans, that's the worst. I love how they say that's the best crowd. No, I'm sorry, that's the worst crowd. Just because the crowd gets raucous, it's raucous for all the wrong reasons. That crowd is garbage. Because like this is what they see, like there's like no intelligence. It's just, oh, we're so clever. The guy's in the rival promotion. And so now it doesn't even make any sense. CM Punk, yeah, we want CM Punk to return. It's supposed to also be a trolling chant. I get it. But this is just stupid at this point. Go watch your little AEW if that's what you're going to do. And I'm not saying to defend WWE, but why come to a WWE show to chant for an AEW wrestler? What can that seriously accomplish? Anyway, Drew McIntyre comes out and the commentators make like they're saving the segment. Like he's saving the segment. Like, yeah, you shouldn't have a wrestler saving a segment. You know what I mean? It should be because, the heels are being nefarious or whatever, but they're just acting like morons. They're not being threats or anything like that. And they're like, oh, I'm surprised Drew didn't come out sooner. So Drew comes in there. He almost fucking sliced. I really just can't stand this. So Corbin's laying on the mat. He takes the sword and he does the slash, and the sword hits the canvas where Corbin was. So he misses, of course. Like, what is this always going to be a thing here where he like misses? Like, so what? Isn't that like attempted murder? I'm just saying, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This swinging the sword. He shouldn't even be carrying a sword in the first place. I get it. We want to add something to the presentation to play devil's advocate, right? But a sword's going a little too far, right? I just think, it's a deadly weapon. Okay, you can make the argument that some things could be, I use the example of like the 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire. If you really use that on somebody, you could probably kill them with it. But you know what I mean? There's just something a bit more wrestling where there's sort of like a barrier of sorts. It's I know, I get it. You could argue this point, you could debate this point, but I just don't think the sword has a place in sports entertainment in the WWE. So we've got, what's up next? Sami Zayn is in the back, and you want to talk about a total downgrade. This guy's knocking it out of the park 2 weeks in a row with great segments. He's a show stealer. Sami Zayn, this guy coming out dressed like a cab driver, not getting anything, done as far as I'm concerned, not getting himself over, just just an indie darling, just another Johnny Gargano. Nothing to offer. He has no appeal, no star power, no nothing. But, so, Sami Zayn has turned it all around. Once again, another guy I give all the credit in the world to for putting in the work, honing his craft, creating a character, making himself meaningful, making himself memorable, and, making himself into a genuinely good addition to the roster. Right? So, what do we get here? Sami Zayn in the back, talking to Adam Pearce, talking to Sonya Deville with the same stupid facial expressions, them rolling their eyes, mouth open, like such generic shit. It's just, it really is just like insulting. Like they're the worst authority figures of all time. What I don't understand is like they've made all these cuts. Why are these people still here? Like, you can't get anyone better than this. I will also never understand how they had Eric Bischoff on the show and they never made him into the GM again. Or whatever you want to call him, an official, whatever you want. I think they could find anybody better. Like, even, like, Bruce Pritchard, like, he knows how to act, right? He's been on camera before. He did a decent character. Also in TNA, he was, put him on camera. Anybody would be better than this. I don't understand why we're scraping the bottom of the barrel on so many things when you could just make some simple adjustments and it would be worlds better. Not perfect, but it would be better. So, Zayn now is getting demoted to the Intercontinental title. And next week we're going to have 12 Days of Christmas. Not a battle royal, a gauntlet match. And I don't know how this is going to work. Last time we had a gauntlet match, it lasted the whole entire length of Raw pretty much, or like half of the show. Hopefully they don't get anywhere close to that. They probably won't, especially with who's in this. You have Drew Gulak in there. The Viking Raiders are in here for some weird reason, like the tag team. Also, Los Ladarios are in here. Okay, like, why are these people in here? For what particular reason? I don't know. And as far as I'm concerned, the Intercontinental Championship on Knocker Murphy has been completely meaningless. Like, when's the last time he even defended that title? I even forgot when they were doing this segment who was the Intercontinental Champion, but we're having a gauntlet. Sami Zayn's going to be thrown in there. Hopefully, they do something creative with his antics and it'll end up being humorous in some way, contributing to his heel character, his underhanded nature. But this is it. This is all we get for Sami Zayn. 2 minutes, if it was even that, a minute and 30 seconds after he has 15 minutes in the ring all this time to stretch his legs, and this is how you award him for having the best segments on the show, and he's relegated to just this throwaway backstage, basically a glorified match announcement. That's all it was for what's gonna be a forgettable match, mind you. We get Ridge Holland defeating Cesaro. They attack Cesaro before the bell, but he still gets a few shots in on Ridge, but whatever, this is totally uninteresting. I love how this segment is this storyline is so delayed. I talked about this last week when Sheamus and Cesaro were wrestling. I'm like, he's screaming out, "You were like a brother to me," and they haven't tagged for 2 years. And now they're like, oh, he kicked Cesaro to the curb in favor of Ridge. No, he was wrestling singles pretty much for the whole year and last year without him. So, he didn't kick anyone to the curb. That tag team dissolved long ago, and they just forgot about it. Cesaro was hanging out with Sami Zayn, and who was it also that he was with? I don't even remember. Oh, Knocker Murphy was there. So, like, where are they getting this from? Like, they're like almost telling you, like, oh, forget about what you saw for the past 2 years. Sheamus wasn't wrestling singles. They've been a tag team all around. Whatever you say. Like, Drew McIntyre is walking in the back, and he's got a sword, and he's calling out for Madcap Moss and Corbin. And I'm looking at the hat, and the hat is like black. Wasn't his hat tan, Corbin? It wasn't even the same hat, and that caught my eye. I wouldn't even really notice something that small half the time, but I'm like, no, that's a totally different color hat than what he was wearing. So this was like, I don't know if they couldn't find the hat at ringside or they taped this backstage, but like, man, I don't know if anyone else noticed that continuity error, but I noticed it like right away, because I don't normally bring that type of stuff up. It's like kind of petty and frivolous, but I couldn't help but notice, and I'm pretty sure I probably wasn't the only one who noticed that. I mean, when you see a different colored hat, it kind of sticks out to me. But anyway, we've got Naomi coming out, and she wants another match against Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville comes out. You know, she says the same line of why I'm wearing this suit. Like, I feel it's like a repeat. And she's wrestling Shayna Baszler again. Shayna sneaks up from behind her as Sonya comes into the ring. She makes like she's going to fight her. And then we just kind of have like a 2-minute match here, and Naomi just gets some sort of pin on Shayna, completely wasting our time. The storyline wasn't further than anyway. It was just kind of a placeholder. Like, oh, wow, oh, she gets a roll-up finish on Shayna. Like, not even like really like a roll-up, just like some kind of weird pinning combination. Like, okay, like, you know, like they're not even trying tonight to make anything interesting, or you know, like or make you want to keep watching. Then we see Corbin and Madcap Moss are cowering in a closet in like an electrical room. That blonde-headed, I haven't even seen Kayla Braxton at all tonight. Like, where is she? Like, I don't know, but yeah, same thing. It's like the mystery of where is Xia Li. She disappeared out of the clear blue sky. And she interviews them, and you know, she turns on the light, the interviewer, and they're like, oh, you know, don't turn it on. And we've got the, you know, Corbin says that Madcap Moss is gonna wrestle Drew McIntyre at day one. I know, I thought that was a little weird, because it's like, well, don't you think Corbin would do it? But he kind of volunteers Moss, and Moss's reaction to the match was actually better than anything that took place during the Happy Talk segment, to be quite honest. I like how he tried to like be happy, but you could see he was genuinely concerned and not happy. You know, just a little something there I noticed. But, you know, McIntyre, we never see him again. We don't know if he found them or not. I guess he didn't. We move on, and we've got the New Day. This is our main event. The New Day versus the Usos for the 1,000th time. How many times are we going to have this match? Are we going to wrestle each other? Are we going to have the 1,001 tag team title run for the New Day? The same matches, the same thing over and over and over. I mean, like, okay, look, they've got chemistry in the ring. Was it a bad match? Of course it wasn't. It was way better than that opening match. That's for damn sure. But you know, I'm sick of seeing this already. So, you know, we see the Usos lose here as the New Day gets the win. Kofi hits the Trouble in Paradise and gets the victory. Then Reigns finally arrives at the arena. He comes out the opposite side of the Escalade, opposite for where Heyman was waiting for him. They come out to the ring, and you know, we think everything is fine, but we could kind of see it. I kind of like that silent tension that they had. Finally, Reigns gets on the mic and says, I like how you ran through everything, with Heyman. Yeah, I like the setup here, how he says, the Usos, he can forgive them for losing because they're blood, they're his cousins, but Heyman is not his blood. And then he recounts everything from like, did he know that Brock was going to be at SummerSlam? Did he know he was going to be at MSG? Did he know that the suspension was lifted? And, all these little things, they all added up over time. And that felt kind of satisfying because you kind of do look back on it and they did tell a pretty decent little story. I think we could have had things be a bit more pronounced. I'm just saying they were kind of subtle. You kind of really had to be like remembering this stuff because it wasn't always constant. And, I get it. You don't have to be so heavy handed with storylines sometimes, but like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm doing a pretty extensive rewatch. I said I've stopped, but like going back to the Attitude Era, and I'm not even talking about Vince Russo here. I'm talking about the year 2000, and I'm in April 2000, and the storylines, this is without Vince. This is with Brian Gerwitz, right? So it's not even Russo. They just used to be so much better. The storylines, you didn't have to like think about things. Well, this sort of is like, no, you knew you were in a storyline. You knew that there was tension in the McMahon family, that we had, Linda McMahon and Stephanie. And, even though Shane McMahon is a bad guy, he saves Linda McMahon from getting pedigreed. If you remember, this is like the lead up to Backlash 2000. I'm just throwing, the most recent episode. So like all this tension, you knew it was built up, and you can see like that there was a lot of elements going on. We don't get that. We get a little something and WWE's like, oh, you should be happy you got that. Here's your storyline, motherfucker. Like that's how they act. Like there you go. Just take it. All right. Well, it was okay for what it was. But anyway, we've got so Heyman gets on the mic finally, and he says that he wasn't trying to protect Brock Lesnar from Roman Reigns. He was trying to protect Roman Reigns from Brock Lesnar. And, the thing is with Heyman, the wording on things, it's like he doesn't talk like a normal human being would talk. This, aggrandized, over the top, almost Shakespearean performance from him. It's just gotten so lame and tiresome, and he never used to do this. I've said this on a number of occasions. He never used to do this. When he would cut a promo, go look at his promo that he cut at ECW One Night Stand. Look at the promo he cut on Vince McMahon before the Survivor Series back in 2001 with the Alliance versus the WWE. He was always on point with his promos. He sounded like an actual human. He didn't sound like some weird shilling robot, like, that's programmed with the works of Shakespeare and oh my God help me, and all the stupid crap that he does. Like Vince Russo has hit the nail on the head. He's like a walking, talking cartoon character, and that's like not a good thing. It's very tiresome, and for me personally, I'm going to tell you, it really took away from the presentation of Brock Lesnar all these years. It really took away from the presentation of Roman Reigns for all these years. All the serious gangster. I've talked about this. Like, I look at the Day One shirt. Like, we've got this, just past his prime, fat slob out there cutting these subpar, dated promos that were, wouldn't even fit in back in the 80s, to be quite honest. Wouldn't even cut the mustard even in the struggling mid-90s for WWE. You could go back and you could easily see better promos from there, from that era. As much as people like to always harken back and crap on those times, you can see that the promos were better then, basically better than all these promos that Heyman has cut. So, we get Roman and Heyman hugging, and then he tells him, "Wise man, you're fired." He Superman punches him, after he makes like he's going to leave. Then they start getting Heyman into position so Roman could do a concerto. But Brock Lesnar comes out, and it looked like he was saving Heyman. He F5s Roman and the Usos. He beats the shit out of everybody. But he doesn't go to pick up Heyman. And here is what honestly, I want to happen. I mean, he came out and he stopped Roman from, doing the concerto. But please, for the love of God, after the performances we have seen from Brock Lesnar since returning, especially the ones with Sami Zayn, please do not put him back with the human cartoon, because he's been doing such a bang-up job by himself, cutting those promos, that he doesn't need him anymore. He doesn't need the walrus. He doesn't need that goofball anymore. He should be his own man. It's been working. Do we really need to go back to my client, Brock Lesnar? Honestly, I don't know if he's scheduled. He's probably not going to be there next week for Christmas Eve. I just don't think it's going to happen. But if he comes back, after New Year's and everything, then you know what I say? Please do. I don't want to come back to SmackDown and see Heyman with the mic in his hand and Brock behind him or by his side or whatever, jousting and everything and doing the warm-up dance, while he goes, "My client, Brock." I sincerely hope we don't hear that again, just so they can, let's do nostalgia, even though that was nostalgia from 2 years ago. Please do not go that route. Just write this off, Heyman. Say he's injured or something. Say his face was bashed in or whatever. Get him off TV. Haul him out of there. Put him in creative. Do whatever you got to do. I hope he's done. That's all I'm saying. So this ending part here, it was good. They finally culminated. There was some bit of a payoff here. More than a bit of a payoff. We'll give him more credit than that. But they should have gotten Heyman out of there a long time ago. Like I said, with the gangster gimmick, seeing him on that shirt, the shirt that the Usos now wear, with them looking like gangsters and the money on the table, yeah. Is it a good design? Yes, it is. But the whole thing about that design is that Paul Heyman is in it, and he does not fit that. You got the Usos and Reigns, who are cool looking guys, but Heyman in that photo, no, I'm sorry. So yeah, please just write him off TV already. Please just do it. It's been a long time coming. I know there's going to be so many people disagreeing with me over this, but that's how I feel. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And please subscribe if you haven't already, guys, and click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. Thank you to all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.